I want you to think on something you can never change. Maybe something about you, maybe something like you can never really lose weight, or you can never really get to play less video games, or doing something you're doing you shouldn't be doing so much, something you want to change, but you can never change it. It's like you succeed with all things, but this thing, maybe something profound and very important, like a relationship. Why you always attract the same kind of people and end up feeling the same way? Or just a belief, this, you have this belief about money that always creates this sense of that you never have enough money. Maybe you, or if you can notice that, kudos to you. That's a big deal. But still, you feel that you cannot get over it. And it's an enemy that is stronger than you. You've been nurturing for many years, and now you're stuck in this frustration because you can't change it. At some point, you think it's you. There's something wrong about me. I will never change it. You feel powerless. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you later a bit of a practical way of how to completely turn this around. And it's very simple. But I need to first go into a bit of a philosophical part, so bear with me. The philosophical part, for understand the mechanics of what I'm going to be suggesting you, is that the part is the same as the total. The total is the part. For example, if you like this idea, you can check fractals, or you can check how holograms are made, but not to go so deep and so geek. Think about, for example, in weather forecast, there is this example where scientists have observed that even a butterfly with its wing can create later on a tornado somewhere else. So something apparently not so important, a tiny little thing, like the wings of a butterfly. I mean, can you imagine how subtle that is? That creates a tornado. A tornado. Can you imagine the strength, devastation of a tornado? Well, this is something that scientists, this comes from, again, from weather forecast. This is not just, it comes from chaos theory, actually. But yeah, it came from some observation of someone who was like scientist of weather, and realized that that's something that happens. A little thing create a huge thing. Isn't that interesting? Because that's the way you can hack things that you can apparently not face directly in your life. You can do it this other way around, but you need to understand the mechanics of this. Otherwise, you just won't do it. You will think, oh no, what's the point of changing this little thing? Well, it's a huge point. Another way of seeing this is, for example, think about you're going straight with your car, and just a tiny change in direction, just a tiny departure from the straight line forward, it could create that over time you start departing and creates a huge distance, huge change. And it all was like just like tiny turn of the wheel. You see where I'm going? Small things matter. And this is something, talking about spirituality, I do appreciate a lot of Zen, and my actual teacher is actually a Zen master, because they have this ordinary thing about spirituality. In Zen, there's a lot of stories where people get enlightened by the most ordinary thing in the world. Many times by a sound. There's a story of someone who's making the dishes and suddenly breaks all the dishes, and he thinks everything's, so they're gonna be consequences on that. And then the master comes and say, just listen. And he just listened to the sound of the dishes, the plates breaking, and he got enlightened. The same way, there was a Zen master who was making the point of, he was just observing nature. There's a lot of stories of that. And he just saw a frog jumping into the water in the pond. That sound. You may think, many people actually don't understand Zen, and they think, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Sounds poetic or something like that, but there's a very, very profound wisdom. encapsulated in these ideas that every moment, every little bit can create a profound change in everything, in the way you perceive the world. And you definitely want to harness that power. You don't want to wait until you sit to meditate. You don't want to wait until your life changes. You don't want to wait until you see the end of this video. Every moment, in everything. This thing your brain says, oh, this is just an ordinary breath. This is just an ordinary room, like every day. That's an ordinary sound. I don't know why you're listening, but pay attention and you will hear something. Maybe your breath. Or maybe you can feel your heartbeat. Whatever it is, even the tiniest part of your experience right now, it is everything. It is the whole time and space encapsulated in one single experience. So, coming back to the original point, when you're thinking about an aspect of your life that you feel completely powerless to change, you feel frustrated, and you have a strong momentum of failing, changing that, the strategy that I want you to take, it is to harness the power of what I was just trying to explain. That you can, the same way the butterfly will create a tornado, you can turn around your whole life by the way you see the most ordinary thing. And you will say, okay, that sounds too simple to be true. But I challenge you to do it. So I challenge you to, right now, I don't know where you are. Maybe you're watching a phone. Maybe you're watching TV, computer. Maybe anything that is around you. Think about how something in your brain is discarding it as ordinary, not important, relevant. Pick any of these objects or aspects of your situation and just see it differently. That's all that I'm asking. That's the only thing you have to do. You don't even need to give it a different meaning. You don't need to try to see everything as sacred or the grandiosity of it. You don't need to think of it as the kind of theory and stuff that I told you before. You don't need to go in mathematics and chaos theory or the frog jumping in the pond. You don't need to go so deep. You just need to see the ordinary things differently. Have a new angle on everything all the time, if you can. But you don't need to make it all the time. At some point, the momentum, you start cracking your life with this. For example, today, decide to see something different. The way you look at the door in the room where you are, or anything you see right now, just pick something and find a new way of seeing that thing. That alone is cracking the rigidness of your pain and your fear. And you may think, what has to do my job problems, my relationship problems with, I don't know, me, myself right now, I'm just in the tiny little screw of a hi-fi system. You say, what does have to do with that little thing? And I'm saying everything. Because everything is everything. And besides that being a beautiful, poetic thought, I'm suggesting you to actually apply it in your life. And the way that you do it is by changing your perspective on anything. You can be playful, or you could just see it like in mindfulness. You just see it without thinking anything about it. Just notice it and have a different perspective, different take on the same little tiny thing. And you may think, how that's going to change my bigger problems? Well, it's completely going to change. This is the mechanics of the perception of the reality you're living in. That's an incredible power you have at your disposal. But you see, who taps on that? Who really, really goes through life finding new ways of seeing things? Well, creative people, artists, geniuses of science. You can be one. The important thing here is that I'm suggesting that specifically this pain you have inside yourself, this fear, this this hurt you have from traumas, maybe this fear of the future, this worry, this chaos in your life. I'm saying you can turn chaos into order by changing the little thing that's in front of you. So that little thing, that ordinary sound, that ordinary experience you have in front of yourself, it is your window of opportunity. So don't wait. Don't wait until something is. And don't think that your biggest problem in life has nothing to do with what you have in front of you right now. That's your mind. And that's how it feels impossible to go about it. So change this moment by changing and just being playful about your rigid way of seeing things, about your memory, about everything you see, and the way you treat things, your habits, everything. Just be playful with it. See things differently all the time. The tiny little things, I insist on that. The tiny little things, because that's, you don't have a huge resistance to that. And by clicking that, clicking that, clicking that, clicking that, the whole background and all this psychological pain and all this great suffering about death, about the horrible things that happen to you, the horrible things that could happen to you, all the list of reasons why you think you cannot be happy right now, you cannot be satisfied and fulfilled. All that huge monster cracks because of the tiny little thing. You see the beauty, the simplicity, the instantaneous awakening, the natural nakedness of life. It is always there. This moment is all the moments. Everything is everything.